Good evening. The board now convenes this meeting of the Little Elm ISD Board of Trustees in open session on Monday, May 11th at 6:30 at Zeller Center for Learning and Leadership. I am Delion English, President of the Little Elm ISD Board of Trustees. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all of our presidents to our video viewers. Let me introduce my fellow trustees and staff. Seated to my right is Ms. Deanna Harding, our Vice President. Trustee Cooper Biggis is unavailable. Trustee Christopher Williams, and Superintendent Dr. Will Strider. To my left is seated Alex Flores, our Secretary. Trustee Stephanie Gray is unavailable, and Trustee Melissa Myers, who is also available. For the Superintendent's leadership team, we have President Following, Deputy Superintendent Matthew Gutierrez, Chief Financial Officer Grant Anderson, Director of Facilities and Construction Ron Reeves, Director for Communication Services and Communication Relationship, Mrs. Pat Robbins, Director of Technology, Integration and Media Services, Russell Van Hoot, and Executive Director of Human Resources and Services, Ross Roberts. And we'd like to welcome Mr. Roberts. The trustees, as a board corporate, have the exclusive power and duty to govern and oversee the management of the board schools, the public schools of the district. The board's responsibility and duty is to assure the public that the district resources are being used effectively and efficiently. The board's role in management oversight shall be to ensure the integrity and performance of all management systems, including but not limited to finance, human resources, technology, transportation, food services, custodial grounds and safety and security, construction management, and facilities management. Leadership, management, and operational responsibilities are charged to the superintendent of schools. For the public, this is a working session. Meeting will allow the board to discuss the business of the district. For the citizen input portion of our agenda, the board has made available public comment cards that are accepted at or before the regular meeting begins. Cards are not accepted after the meeting has started. All cards will be collected and given to the board secretary or representative who is present during the speaking time. Please join us at this time for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Roll call.
Dr. Will Strider.
Here.
Mr. Christopher Williams.
Here.
Ms. Leanna Harding. Here. Mr. DeLeon English.
Here.
Mr. Alejandro Flores.
Here.
And not present, Mr. Cooper Biggis, Ms. Stephanie Gray, and Ms. Melissa Myers.
Thank you very much. First order of business, approval of minutes, discuss and approve regular minute meetings for 4/20/2015. Oh, I'm sorry. Citizen input is next. Do we have any citizen input?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we do. All right. We'll have citizen input at 6:34. Thank you. Outstanding. For our first citizen input, we'll have Ms. Naomi Armstrong to discuss the topic of reading remediation in SPED.
Thank you. Dr. Lowell and members of the board, thank you, Russell. I'm here as both a parent and as a teacher who is highly qualified at the middle school and special education. I've had children in the district for over 12 years, and in that time I have seen our special education program have a marked decline in its ability and its effectiveness. I believe that there's a lot of contributing factors to that, but I think that the most important thing is that we have really good teachers, and we have a board and a superintendent that, from everything I've seen, are willing to get input and want to affect a positive change for our district. One of the areas where I feel like our special education program is failing is in reading remediation. My youngest son, is a 10th grader. who reads on a 5th grade reading level. I have fought for 4 years to get solid reading intervention for him. As of about 6 weeks ago, I finally have that. But what I learned in the process of the last 4 years is that there's no vertical alignment of the reading remediation programs between the junior high and the high school. If we want to be a district that's run by data-driven instruction, we need that vertical alignment so that as the students transition, we can truly measure their growth or lack of growth. The reading program that the high school uses is called Achieve 3000, and I looked at the white paper on it. It has a lot of great numbers saying students will gain 94 points or 176 points, but there's no specifics in the white paper. It does not tell us the size of the districts that were submitted for that or how they gathered their data. Little Elm High School has recently switched to a program, I believe it's Read 180, and if you look at their white program, their white paper, it lists which districts gained, which students gained, what factors affected their level of success. And so I would really like to encourage the district to take a look at changing the program at the high school to one that is more evidence-based in its success and to consider the vertical alignment. I would also like to strongly suggest that we form some kind of task force to identify where the problems in the special education are. Because we've got some amazing teachers that are doing amazing things that want the kids to be successful, and those kids are desperate for success. We need to find out what small things like vertical alignment can help these students be more successful. I think that the task force should be made up of teachers, parents, and administrators or school board members. So, thank you.
Mrs. Armstrong, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that.
Ms. Armstrong, what district did you compare, did you say had a different program that you referred to?
The Read 180 is my understanding from the teachers at Lakeside. That's what they've switched to. It was not the same program that my son had just 2 years ago.
I'll just make a comment about Read 180. It's an extremely evidence-based, research-based program that has great success, and that was one of the reasons that switch was made to that program. The teacher we have at Lakeside actually happens to be one of the most qualified to teach that, which is a key in any of those programs that you put out there, as you indicated, that we have great teachers, and that's an example of one. And I know that we'll look at all of that in depth. The whole idea of the alignment is something that, vertical alignment, that we're going to do throughout our entire system. And especially our K-5 into the 6th grade, we have to look at that strongly, and then our 8th grade into the 9th grade. So thank you for your comment.
Once again, thank you. You got any more? No public comments. We'll close public comments at 6:39. All right. That's good. Keeping me honest. Next up, approval of minutes. Once again, we are discussing approved regular minute meeting for 4/20/2015.
I move that the board approve the board minutes for April 20th.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All those in favor for approval of board minutes for 2015, raise your hand and say aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion carries for approval of discussion of regular minute meeting for 2015. Next item up, report of superintendent.
Well, we can start right down the list. We've got a number. We're going to start with Ashley Helms, giving us a Summer Learning Summit. She presented this to the principals, and I was impressed with the work that she has done and folks in her department have done. So I asked her if she would do a presentation on free home.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Strike and members of the board. I think we're going to start with a video that we have been circulating with our campuses. Our Curriculum and Learning Services team has been doing a road show where we've been going out to each of the campuses during their faculty meeting, showing this video and helping them get excited about our summer learning opportunities for teachers.
Is it this one? So I've got this one, and then I've got video from business finance.
While they find that, I can go ahead and talk to you a little bit about our summer learning opportunity. We're very, very excited. This is the first time that Little Elm has ever provided this type of conference-style professional learning for teachers. We are very, very excited. We have 4 days, June 8th through the 11th this summer, and we have sessions running all day long in every content area and for every single staff member. There is stuff from special education to CTE. There's specific courses for English language arts, for guided reading, for reading remediation, for RTI, for counselors, for principals. We really have worked hard to make sure that every single audience in our district is covered. As of this morning, we're very excited. We just started rolling out the registrations a week ago. Actually, it'll be a week tomorrow. And as of this morning, I looked in Eduphoria at our totals and workshop registration, and we have over 170 teachers already registered for our Summer Learning Summit. And by how many clicks and tallies that they've registered, it's over 675 workshops. So that's a lot of learning for our teachers, and we're very, very excited about this opportunity for them. We're bringing in speakers from all over Texas and the United States to come speak to our teachers about things that they have asked for. So we're bringing in specific speakers for math and ELAR workshop from Debbie Diller, who's a respected name in Spaces and Places that teaches educators how to organize their room and their materials to best accommodate the workshop practices that we are advocating in K-5. We also have some really, really great special education things that are coming in, consultants from all over. We have some really, really awesome presentations from in-district staff as well. Because we are offering it as a conference, we are really, really pleased that we're offering an app that teachers can use. As you exit the boardroom, there is a bulletin board, and it says Summer Learning Summit, and our theme this year is We Climb Together. And so you can access the app. Are we there? Oh, we're there, good. But you can access the app, and you can actually register online, and it has access to maps of the buildings that the sessions are going to be in. It also lets you build a schedule on your phone, and you can RSVP to get credit in Eduphoria for the trade-off hours. So we're really excited. So we can watch the video, and then if you have any questions. our teachers have already really been thinking about what they want to learn and what is going to make an impact for their students in their classrooms. And as a curriculum and learning services team, along with our fantastic partners, the technology team, our digital learning facilitators, and Mr. Van Hoos, we have really, we hope, and we are super excited to say that we feel like this is going to be a great learning opportunity for every single one of our educators. Thank you.
Very exciting. Thank you very much, Pam. We really appreciate that. And Captain Connor obtained one request. I get that, and Dr. Strike knows I start asking a bunch of questions. Well, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? I'll be contained and comfortably. We'll start trying. All right. Final summary.
Good evening, Board. On May 5th, we had a finance summit, and we're able to bring in 5, which I consider finance experts in the state. The first one was Bob Templeton, who spoke to us about demographics and that he believed this coming year that we'll have an enrollment of 7,292 and students. And Derek Honey, who's our financial advisor from RBC, and he went over a lot of detail on how to finance our debt structure, and he gave 4 recommendations. One was to issue a $21 million our bonds that have already been authorized, and then to authorize another $35 million in bonds. And then the third was one that he wouldn't recommend, but he said was a scenario that would include capital appreciation bonds. And then Doug Carr, he's a finance consultant and a special revenue consultant in the state. He's been doing the state funding template for years. He described us the current state funding template, provided a legislative update to us. And we have a video that Cecilia from our communications department put together. So I'm not going into a lot of detail right now. You'll see a little bit more. It's about a 6-minute video. And then Jim Shealy, CFO of Eagle Mount Saginaw, provided some guidance in us creating a financial model that the board and the administration would both understand as we move into a comprehensive financial plan for short and long-term planning for our district. And then John Walsh, he's a tax ratification election consultant, and he described his involvement in a number of TREs in the state. So I think Marty was going to play a video.
One thing about your district, I'm very confident that you're going to hit these numbers. Extremely confident. The only question I have is it going to happen a little sooner or is it going to happen a little later? But because of the amount of vacant land and the vacant lots that you have for your school district, it's not a question of if you're going to hit 9,200 numbers. You're going to hit those numbers. The only question is it going to happen in 8, 10, or 12 years? Now, what is all this doing to your appraised values? Well, definitely the growth is going to cause your total appraised value to grow. What could the district look like, when we build out the major parcels of land? And what you will notice is at build out, the district could have 7,269 elementary students, which would cause you to have the need for between 9 and 11 elementary schools. At the middle school or junior high grade group, potentially at build out, you could need junior high capacity for 3,295 junior high or middle school students. So roughly 3 middle schools would take care of your 3,300 middle school students. At high school, the district could be at 3,847 high school students. That's a challenging number. And you'll notice this is the same kind of challenge that Capel has. Capel's build-out is going to be very similar. Well, how many high schools does Capel have? 1. Because they're at that point where if they break off to go to 2 high schools, what does that do to your operation? Very inefficient. It's very inefficient to have 2 high schools that are only going to have about 1,400 students.
So section 3 here is really where I wanted to spend the most time as we start looking at facilities needs and what can the district bond for if it needs to do so. So we took a look at 4 scenarios here. Scenario 1 is just what's the tax rate impact of the district's existing debt, not layering on any new debt, no new bond elections. What does it look like? Scenario 2 would be, what if we issue the $21 million in remaining authorization now? What kind of impact would that have to the district's tax rate? And then scenario 3, what if we issue the $21 million and then we issue the maximum amount of debt that you can issue right now and pass the 50-cent test with the Attorney General utilizing all current interest bonds, which is the most efficient structure you can use and what we generally recommend.
Comptroller value going back to 1213 was at about $1.79 billion. We come up to 1516, and based on the number that the comptroller has put up on the website as of January of this year, we're up to about $2.4 billion. That's about a 4% increase over what it was in 13-14, or excuse me, 14-15 going to 15-16. So automatically right there, we know based on the comptroller value, our state aid just slid back about 4%. Taxes have not been constant, they've gone up, and if you look at every dollar you lay on the table from the local taxpayer in Little Elm, you get matched to the tune of about $1.18. The House agenda is to appropriate an additional $3 billion to public education funding. Chairman Aycock on the Public Education Committee, Representative Otto and Speaker Strauss are very public education friendly. The $3 billion is going to flow, as it's designed right now, through a House bill that has a number on it, 1759. That doesn't look very significant when you just look at it on the screen, look at it in terms of the bill number. But if that passes, that's going to be probably one of the more significant changes that has been made to school finance, going all the way back to probably 2005, and maybe as far back as 1983. Over across the way in the Senate, not too many steps away, they've got a totally different agenda. They want to appropriate $1.1 billion. Sorry, that M should be a B. About $1.1 billion to public education, but only after we give tax relief by raising the current exemption on homesteads by $15,000, and only after we have provided some kind of choice alternative.
The rate's going to be 154 after this election, okay? It's going to be 154 because that's what we made happen when we adopted the rate. If they don't approve it, we'll be at 154 and won't make any extra money. If they approve it, we're not going to have 167. We're going to have 117, but we're going to drop the debt rate 13, and we'll be at 154. But because we moved 13 pennies over, we're making that extra M&O money from the nice M&O enrichment pennies.
I'm just going to tell you the good news is we have all 3 hours on CD if you want one, or DVD. So I know that one thing we'll do, we will not make a mistake in funding, and we'll all collaborate, and I know that we're going to get a full comprehensive plan together with the operation of the school district, and I'm looking forward to working with you all in this plan. Thank you.
I just have one question. Sorry for that.
I have a 3-hour tape.
I wish I could have attended the summit. I apologize for not being there, but just one quick question here. The additional tax revenue that we anticipate seeing, is that only because of the additional rooftops that we're going to be receiving in the area, or does that account for the increase in our taxes?
As currently, it's the additional rooftops, because there's no tax increase this year. Are you talking about current?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just got my appraisal. It came in like $20,000 more than previous year. So I anticipate we're all seeing the same kind of increase.
Yes. Yeah, we have additional revenue coming in. I have that.
Well, that's associated with GAD back, right?
Yeah, the answer is it is associated with the property value increase. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if that
Yes.
accounted for that additional.
Yes, the additional revenue for next year is our, am I getting the question right?
plus additional students.
Yes, and then for our state funding, our tax revenue is from the property value increase, and then our state funding increase is from the additional ADA. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking assessed value. Thank you.
So, what's happening is, we move at 13 cents over, we have additional value that comes from the state based on the computations that we have. Potentially moving 13% over, potentially generating $5 million, if I understand correctly.
Yeah. What happens is they reward you for local effort on the M&O side, but you're not rewarded for having debt on the debt service side. So what you're saying, if you're willing to go out to the full $1.17 on your maintenance and operations side, then the state's saying, we're going to reward you for doing that at the local level. And for us, that was about $5 million. And it gets relatively complicated after that. And there's going to be lots of philosophical discussions and things that we're going to have to get in place in terms of our facilities plan, looking at our demographics and our growth, as well as one of the things we're committed to is looking at the facilities that we already have, that as we look forward, making sure that we maintain and take care of the facilities that we have, that we don't build new buildings while the older buildings are falling apart in places possibly. And we don't have that right now, but that can be a scenario if you ignore the properties that you already have that the taxpayers already own. So just a comment, I really appreciate Grant doing the Finance Summit, and he's pushed, Grant's not been here very long, and he put that together very quickly. They're really, when they talk about people that are finance experts, there really isn't an expert unless you're in it full time like some of these folks are, simply because it's so complicated, and it's kind of like the weather. You wait and it's going to change on you, especially in the legislative year. Right now there's so many unknowns for us, but I think the biggest thing that Grant emphasizes really today in our superintendent's leadership team, two things. One is that there's always going to be financial transparency from his office in terms of what dollars we have and input from other folks in terms of where those dollars go, and then making priority-based decisions, which we did this morning, which when Mr. Gutierrez gets up and speaks, he'll give a number in terms of staffing that was reduced by $1.5 million from, we kind of start big and say, okay, now let's put it in the funnel and see what we can afford. And I appreciate that on Grant's behalf. And then also looking at a budget and finance committee that will try and start late summer so that we get, again, as much input and putting everything on the table. But it's trying to get everybody to understand what's out there. And it's very complicated. We were actually mentioned in the Dallas Morning News that looking at there's a couple bills out there, one of them dealing with raising the 50-cent test to a 60-cent test. Which is good. The problem is anytime you're raising taxes, which when your taxable appraised values go up and taxes go up, that's something the board will have to look at very carefully, because now all of a sudden you're already impacting people, not because of what we do with tax rate, but as the taxable appraised values go up, you're paying more taxes every year. And then if you put a tax rate that's higher on top of that, so we're just going to have to look at what our priorities are, what the community's priorities are, and the board will have some decisions, but we want you to make sure that you have all the information to make those decisions. And right now, it's till we get to the legislative session, it's a little bit complicated and murky, and we could have another, the next biennium be going through the same thing, and that's what makes it hard to get a long-range plan. We'll take all the data we have and be as transparent as possible so that the board can make informed decisions. But I really appreciate Grant's his stick-to-itiveness about making sure that our budget's where it needs to be, and at the same time making sure we're not shortchanging kids, that we're spending our dollars in the right places. So I appreciate that, and the discussion of the superintendent's leadership team, the give and take this morning was very refreshing.
Thank you very much. And I had an opportunity to attend that, the Finance Summit. It was excellent, well put on. The speakers were well versed in their knowledge, and we really appreciate that, because that allowed us to have some opportunity to look at the differences we have available to us. And I think the board's going to really enjoy further discussion about how we finance things. I know there's some important things we want to look at. Facilities, of course, is a priority. CTE is another priority with the kids, and making sure we have the right funding for the staff to get them where they need to be. Special education, some of these other things. So it's good to know. And hopefully, I think the legislative body, HB 1759, we're supposed to add an additional $3 billion to the legislative income for schools. Last I looked at ours, we were about 7%. We would potentially see additional.
We pick up 3.3 million this year, fiscal year, and then next fiscal year, 3.4 million, I believe. That's the House version. The Senate's only at about $1 billion, and the Senate has a lot of baggage with theirs that they're saying that, you know, so they've gone to committee and they'll negotiate, but we don't know what that's going to come out.
I think one of the things that probably is helpful going forward in the future, and we talked about this in the board operating series, is maybe talking about as a board having a legislative retreat when we come up and discuss legislative bills that we either use for the Senate and push those towards the House and be a part of that process and have our voice be heard from a little standpoint of view of some of the bills that we'd like to see that potentially help us as a community.
And I think that those grassroots, I think folks are starting to listen more, plus there's a lot more grassroots groups out there that are supporting education, public education, in terms of, I know a couple bills that are out there right now are because there were school boards, schools, leadership throughout the state that's not in public education, pushing for change, and some of it's on the funding side, and then another deals with the lock-in of being in TRS insurance, that there's a bill that potentially could unlock that, which would help in being able to go out and bid that. So,
great.
And I'm glad to know it's on DVD. So I think you guys would actually really enjoy it. It's very eye-opening, very informative, and sorry, I don't put something on. I think you guys, if you got a chance to watch it, it was definitely worth the time.
Read great information. Thank you.
High definition?
Huh?
High definition?
Is it high definition?
All right. Number C, MISD auction and surplus.
Rod's going to come up and talk a little bit about auction surplus fixtures, furniture, and equipment update, and make a couple comments. I think folks have supported that, so we'll turn that over to Rod.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Strike and President English, members of the board. Just want to give you a quick update on the online auction that we had for surplus, what we call fixtures, furniture, and equipment. And that happened on April 6th through April the 20th, and that was on online with Lone Star Auctioneers. And there was a public viewing that was from April 14th through April 17th. All winning bidders were notified on April the 20th, and we had some dates, April 21st through the 24th, but I believe we extended a couple of those days because of weather to make sure they can get that. Now there were 183, Jill, you tell me if I'm right or not, 183 lots. So when I say lots, that doesn't mean there's just 183 pieces. If you look at the list that we provided you in your board packet, there's 4 items for things or 12 items for things. So what happened was everything throughout the district had to get to King. Once it got to King, it had to be divided in what we call lots, and then it had to be processed and placed online in a systematic manner to be able to do it to where people could bid on it. So what I would like to do is, I'm up here talking about it, but the people that actually did all the work, who I'm honored and I'd say maybe blessed to work with, and I'd like to introduce them. So they're hopefully not too nervous, but I got Miss Carol Riley back here, and she keeps me in line, make sure I spend money the correct way. And we have Lily Solis, who does a lot of our transportation, and she does the translations for our custodial staff. We have Jill Sokol, who was actually the spearhead that helped us with putting it on the online auction. Appreciate Jill's help. We got Danny Cogdill back here with some of our grounds guys, Ricky and Danny back here. And let me tell you, this was above and beyond what they already do. And I can't you just have to be there to understand the amount of work that it took for them to do that. And that's just, I just wanted you to see them and to just know that how much I appreciate them, and hopefully you appreciate them as well. So on that note, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Just want to say thank you. We know it takes a lot of work to keep in mind.
That's right. Miss Harding knows me.
Always got good support.
That's right.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
And I'll add to Rod's, with his entire staff, and of course it all starts with leadership and what Rod provides in terms of leadership. But these folks that you see here tonight and the rest of the staff that work with Danny and Joel and throughout that whole system, they're as good a people as you'd find anywhere. We are very, very fortunate in this district that the dedication of the folks that work in that department, and I know how appreciative I am, because that's that behind-the-scenes stuff that everybody demands and wants it right away and wants it yesterday and wants it paid for, and Carol's got to say no sometimes.
That's right. It's not my fault, it's Carol's fault.
Yeah,
It's not.
he's got somebody to blame. I don't know, I asked Carol, she said no.
That's
But,
right.
It's just so refreshing to see people that are so customer service oriented as that whole department, and smiles, and they're out there sweating and digging a hole for planting a tree or something, and they stop and wave as you drive by with their good people. So thank you, Rod.
Thank you, thank you. I want to add two more things. Joel Moses is not here. I think he's out dealing with some water issues, and so he's the salt of the earth gentleman too, so I want to recognize him. And then also, if you look at the amount of money that was raised, it's over $55,000, so that pays for a teacher there. So the amount of work that they're doing behind the scenes helps for paying for some teachers. So, thank you.
Personally, thank them as well. I went on there just to take a look at some of the items that he was selling. If there's any interest.
Some neat stuff.
That's a lot of pictures, there's a lot of work that went in there, so thank you very much.
I did have one question.
Sure.
What, how did we, or I guess, why is it divided up the way it is between the child care program and nutrition? How did that?
Well, it's my understanding, and hopefully Jill can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those were paid out of different funding sources. And so we wanted to make sure that we separated those, like child nutrition has their own separate budget, child care. We want to make sure we get Miss Hooten all her money back. You're welcome. So that's why we did it that way, to make sure it went back into that specific account. Yes.
Oh, well, that's why I was.
Well, it's where they were originally funded from to start.
That, okay.
That's where they used.
Now, I would like Lisa Hooten's money over on our side, but.
So Zeller's is completely empty now?
No, I believe there's 20 lots that did not sell, and actually there's some more items there. If you get over about 180 lots, it gets almost too much, not only for our staff, but just for people bidding on it. So we'll probably have another one back in September, probably, timeframe, if they don't kill me. I got to talk to them first. But we'll look at probably in August or September, do another auction.
You do not want big business.
No, I don't. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Oh, one more question. How are we doing with the whole water rain thing? It's been raining quite a bit. Impacts?
The water.
Rod's in charge of rain.
Oh, the rain. Oh, how are we doing with the rain? Oh, you mean all the, there was some, and Danny, you can come up here and help me with this. There were some, we did have some leaks, some trees falling down. We actually had, we had some people out on Sunday, even before the storm and then after the storm. So they were working almost all day Sunday. Some of these people right back here too. So we were on that. It wasn't as bad as we thought, but there are some things we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Maybe you can give us an update on Friday. Friday update.
We can do that. Sure can.
I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, next under technology professional development, and our Julie Berg, our lead digital learning facilitator, is going to step in and help Russell out here. So Russell, I don't know if you have something you want to introduce this and then introduce Julie.
I do. Thank you. Good evening, Board. I want to call your attention back to the Summer Learning Summit video, and I wanted you to think about all of the technology that was mentioned in that video. And I am very blessed to work with three very, very talented people in our instructional technology program. And I want to introduce you to our lead digital learning facilitator, Julie McClurg. We were very excited when Curriculum and Learning asked us to be part of the Summer Learning Summit. We had a little bit of experience with the conference style last summer when we put on our very own conference for teachers. That was just around technology, so we were super excited when we had the opportunity to come together. And Julie's been a big part of helping us get that put together with Curriculum and Learning, along with our other digital learning facilitators. So with that, I want to introduce you to someone who I am very blessed to work with, and that's Miss Julie McClurg.
Thank you. We're excited about having this opportunity to share with you for a few minutes about what we do in the district. Who we are, first of all. Of course, Russell wears so many hats as the director, but he is our leader. We also have Misty Joaquin, who is housed at the middle school, and Marcus Miller, housed at the high school. They're very helpful. We work closely together. I have some district things that I have to do for the district. I can call them, text them, and say, hey guys, can you run over to Chavez and take care of something for me? And they're just always, eager and ready to help. So we work really well together as a team. We also have innovative leaders on every campus. And what this is are campus instructional staff who wanted to become an innovative leader so that they could lead on their campus. They can either apply or they can be nominated by their campus administration. They can be nominated by one of us. We have meetings regularly. They help us provide training, provide staff development. We're really excited because 3 of our innovative leaders have already moved into full-time instructional technology staff positions. 1 in our district, I believe, and maybe 2 in other districts. So we have some curriculum in there that they go through that prepares them for this, if this is what they want to do. We're going to change a part of that this year, though, and make it a little bit easier for them. Some of you may be familiar with the Intact team that we had before. We're going to have those teams on the campuses where they can, librarians, CTLs, anybody that wants to help in that role can help their staff, but they don't have to go through the curriculum to necessarily become an instructional technology lead, do that for a career if they want to. So we're really excited about that change next year, and we think that'll open up more options for some of the people on the campuses. What we do? Well, we serve and support everybody in LEISD, staff, students, teachers, everybody. We provide technology training, and we provide technology professional learning. And you may think, well, why does she have that broken down into technology training and technology professional learning? It's because to us, that's different. Technology training is the how. How does it work? How do you log in? How do you do it? The professional learning is why we do it. The professional learning is the part where we work with them on why we do what we do. It's the part of our jobs that we think of ourselves in as instructional coaches with an emphasis in digital learning. We are always about sound instructional practices. We never use technology just to be using technology. It's always focused on the student learning. We also support district digital initiatives and software, whether it be something we're involved with or not. Example, web page. We're supporting that, trying to help them get that implemented smoothly. We support online testing. We're continuously researching and looking for innovative strategies to increase student learning and success. We're not necessarily always looking for the latest and the greatest tools. It's not about the tools to us. It's about what's going to make our students enhance their learning and make our teachers better at what they do. We collaborate, meet, co-teach, model effective use of digital learning tools. We really love to get in there with our teachers and be able to go into the classrooms with them. That's one of our favorite parts of our job. Professional learning opportunities that we always have a new employee training at the beginning of the year. We have sessions at in-service. Last year, he mentioned we did the Summer Technology Infusion Conference. We really were excited about that. We felt like it was a really big success. This year, we're excited to work with curriculum for the Summer Learning Summit. We also provide professional learning anytime they'll give us a slot. If they give us 15, 20, 30 minutes, we are there. We've always got something we want to share, whether that be after school, early release, staff development. We go on demand, one-on-one meetings. They'll call us and say, can you come by during our planning time? We are there. We will do it whenever they'll give us a few minutes to meet with them. We always will be there. We provided lunch and learns. We do co-teaching opportunities. We love to go in and teach with the teachers. We know they are the experts on the content, so we go in and co-teach with them whenever they give us an opportunity to do that. Our focus, you've probably seen this written somewhere, anything from our department, it's not about the tool, it's about the learning. That's something that we're passionate about that in our department. We also think that digital citizenship is crucial. We take this very seriously. It's very important to us. It's something that I think we've grown a lot. This is my second year here, and just the growth that I've seen in that area has been tremendous since I joined Little MISD. We don't just focus on our kids. We've really worked with our teachers to get them to understand what that is and bring a lot of awareness around that, and it's something that you'll see us continue to focus on. We also focus on digital pedagogy and best practices. We're always going to make sure that our digital tools are wrapped around good, sound teaching practices. If a teacher says, I need you to come in and work with me, help me here, we always start with, what is the standard? What are your students struggling with? If they say, I have a new tool, I want to use it with my kids, we're going to gently guide them back over to the learning. Well, what does it need to look like? What do they need to learn? We also work with digital tools for individualizing and customized learning. We talk about formative assessments, whatever we can do to help them with their students in their class. We also support any district initiatives and software. Our future goals. We want to get better with our regularly scheduled campus support. It's a little hard. I have 6 campuses that I'm responsible for. in addition to my district responsibilities. So sometimes I have trouble getting there. So we want to get better at that. We're going to really try to work on that some. We're going to take a little bit different approach this year and get their curriculum and see if we can actually integrate some of the tools for them. And hopefully then when they see their curriculum, they'll say, oh, I like what they have here, and they'll give us a call and say, would you come over and help us do this? We see this in the curriculum. You know, we'll give them the ideas. Maybe that'll open the door for us to get in there with them. They want some more flexibility, more options, so we're going to work on online professional learning options for them. We want to grow our department to provide better service. We know that we need a sustainable program to be able to support our teachers and to grow our team, our digital learning here at Little Elm. We need to grow our team eventually to be able to do that. One thing that we really want to work on is with our parents. We feel like, in reflection, maybe we didn't do all we could do with parents and giving them the opportunity to learn more about digital citizenship, even how to take care of the device. We realize now, looking back, we should have had more orientations on that. We should have more training opportunities on that. And we also heard from some of our surveys that we did, parents want learning management systems. They want to know what's going on in their child's classroom. So we want to have sessions about Edmodo. We want to be able to show them how to get into Edmodo, how to use Edmodo. We're going to try to do better with parent learning opportunities next year. And in closing, this statement seems to kind of sum up the way that we feel about digital learning. When it comes to education technology, pedagogy should be the driver and the technology the accelerator. Otherwise, technology will simply end up being the brake. We never want to let technology be what we focus on. It's always about the learning. It's always about sound teaching practices. What digital tool can we use to help our students get there? Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and Superintendent Dr. Strike. I am taking this opportunity to introduce a new administrator who was appointed last month, and I am pleased to introduce Ross Roberts, who comes to us from Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, where he most recently served as high school campus principal. So let me introduce our new Executive Director of Human Resource Services, Mr. Ross Roberts.
Thank you. I guess we turned that off. I hope that's not an omen, me coming up here and having difficulties. Promise you I'm not that bad. Good evening, Board of Trustees, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. And you know, 4 short months ago, I had the honor of sitting in front of Mr. English and Miss Myers, and I was one of the few that was chosen by you to speak on Dr. Strike's behalf. And so, sitting in front of Mr. English, I made the statement that you never know, maybe our paths will cross someday. And so we just ran into each other in the hallway, and he turned, and if it wasn't for my name badge, he said, "You look familiar." I said, "Do you remember?" So we had a good time there, and you know, just how time flies and how things change. And the question is asked to me, you know, what brings you here? And I think about 3 months ago, I came across a mantra that rings true here for Little Elm ISD, and the mantra says, "Dwell in possibilities." And I love that, because I think the direction of this community, the direction of the board, the direction of this school district is dwelling in all kinds of possibilities, and that intrigues me, and that's what has caused me to want to be a part of this community, this family. And I'll tell you a quick story. And it's what I'm passionate about, and in this role that I'm in, it is about the competitive advantage. My job, number one, is to recruit and to increase the talent pool that we have here in Little Elm ISD, and I'm competitive in nature, and I will do that. I experienced that firsthand this past Friday. I was at a job fair for Region 10, and I shared this with the superintendent's leadership team this morning, and I just figured that I would share it with you because it's exciting. And at the job fair, I had half a dozen school districts that are comparable in demographics and comparable in size to Little Elm ISD. And at one particular time, I looked up and I counted 17 potential candidates in my line wanting to get information from Little Elm ISD. And I'm here to say that they did not go to those other comparable districts beside us. So the word is getting out, and that excitement is getting out. And my passion came across to our leadership team today, just like it is to you. And I'm challenging everybody in this room for the competitive advantage. That starts spreading, and that excitement and that passion is contagious. And that's what I feel that I bring. So I wanted to share that. You know, the leadership team told me that they thought it was because of me. You know, people just gravitated to me. But I'm very humble, and so I told them, oh, that's not the case. Just kidding. I am very passionate. So in closing, I'm here to serve the kids. I'm here to serve the board. I'm here to serve this community. And I'm very excited about the opportunity. I'm very excited about the possibilities, and I'm here in front of you to thank each of you for this opportunity. So thank you, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
I'm also excited to announce a new member of our Lobo family, coming to us from Louisville ISD, where she serves in a similar capacity that she will be serving in here with us very soon as the coordinator for languages and literacy. I am pleased to announce that Ann Van Zant will be our new coordinator for languages and literacy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate so much the honor that you've given me in selecting me for this role, all of y'all that were part of that process, and then of course the board for selecting me. I am delighted to have not only elementary but now secondary under my umbrella, and I use the term umbrella because I really do feel like they're under my protection. And the teachers as well. And so I'm looking forward to taking care of all the Lobo family from K to 12, and I'm just delighted about that. So thank you again for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And so we would like to welcome the two members to our family. Thank you very much for being a part of it. We really appreciate that. So thank you for being here. All right. Next up. Next up, the board will recess into closed meeting into the professional development room as created by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Code Subchapter 551.074 and 551.072 at 7:24. At 8:21, we reopen open session for the ISD Board of Trustees. Next item, number 8, action item, discuss and consider approval on Hackberry Elementary Assistant Principal. Mr. Chair.
Going to try this again. Members of the board, I'd like to recommend approval of the individual we discussed during closed session.
Do I have a motion from the board for approval for Hackberry Elementary Assistant Principal?
I move the board approve the employment of the individual discussed in closed meeting for the position of assistant principal for Hackberry Elementary.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Further discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor for approval of Hank Bailey Elementary Assistant Principal, raise your hand and say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm pleased to announce that our new assistant principal for 2015-2016 at Hackberry Elementary will be Mr. Stephen Richardson, who will be coming to us from Grapevine Colleyville ISD.
Thank you. Outstanding. Next item up, discussion item 9A, discuss 2015-2016 staffing plan.
Members of the board, I shared a few minutes ago a document that has been updated last week for board book. I provided you a staffing plan summary for 2015-2016 that specified the positions that we were looking for to accommodate growth and to meet the needs of our students. However, in looking at where we are financially and having the least minimal impact on our budget, and to make an effort to avoid a deficit budget, we have eliminated additional positions. Just to give you a little bit of background, back in February or so, Human Resources, along with myself and our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Learning Services, started having conversations with campus principals and department leaders. At that time, we asked them to come forward with a wish list of positions that they were looking at. In addition to that, identifying the growth positions that would be needed for their campus or their department. What we originally had was a plan that was at about $3.5 to $3.7 million. That plan was then taken by myself, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Learning, Human Resources, and we sat down and discussed what we could hold off on, what was just extra that, I'll just talk loudly, what was considered to be extra or maybe fluff that we did not need. And so we also talked about, coming from the curriculum side and the staffing HR side, what was reasonable and what was needed in order to meet the individual needs of those campuses, as they are all different. So then what we did is we brought that down even further to about $2.5 million, and then took that plan, that staffing plan, took it to the superintendent's leadership team, and then reduced that even further to about $1.9 million just recently today. What you have is the figure of 2.5, your original document. The document that I shared with you this evening is the most recent staffing proposal. And what I did was highlighted in yellow the changes from the document that you had received last week. And so what you see, I have identified on this document the positions, the number of positions, and the rationale for asking for those positions. The majority of the positions are due to student growth. You'll see that we did reduce the number of teacher FTEs for general classrooms or core content areas from 12 to 10. We're also asking for an additional AVID teacher at Lakeside Middle School. Just today it was confirmed that we have 422 requests for students to be part of AVID. It is highly sought after. Parents are highly interested in the AVID program, and there is no way that we would be able to get in a good percentage of students if we only had one teacher. We're also looking to add additional special ed FTEs, speech pathologist, diagnostician, to meet the TEA recommended ratios for manageable caseloads, a paraprofessional to assist special ed teachers at the high school. We're also looking at an unfunded mandate. The state is requiring us to offer computer programming as a foreign language, so we have to offer that. We're also looking at, you'll also see in yellow, double blocking in 7th grade at both Prestwick and Lakeside for ELA, and the scores support that. If you look at our scores compared to the state, we certainly fall below the state average. However, our population that we serve is above the state average. So we are asking for the FTEs to support that initiative at the middle school. If you recall, many of you have been in the district for quite some time. Back in 2011 when there were cuts, one of the first positions that was cut was the reading specialist at the elementary schools. Initially we had 6 in that plan. We have reduced it down to 1 to go to our 2 most needy elementary campuses to share. We're also looking at increasing instructional time for our GT students, where right now they're having to be transported to have their needs met. We're asking for an additional teacher. We're also looking to grow our goals program so that we can meet the needs of our potential students at risk of dropping out. And in order to accomplish that, we need an additional goals teacher as well as an additional DAEP teacher, because moving the goals program to the high school will necessitate an additional, well, I took that off, sorry. So we're not asking for a DAEP teacher. We're also looking at adding an academic dean position, which is an administrator position at teacher salary, sort of like an internship to support Prestwick K through 8. Right now we have the counselor, 1 counselor at Prestwick STEM Academy and 1 assistant principal. And their duties encompass meeting the needs of all students, kindergarten through 8th grade, which is a very huge, demanding caseload when you look at discipline, when you look at assessment, when you look at 504, when you look at sitting in on ARDs. So an academic dean will allow for some relief and to allow that counselor to do some more small group guidance, additional individual guidance. We'll also allow the assistant principal to serve as a stronger instructional leader rather than just be consumed with discipline. We're also asking for an additional assistant principal for PAL, as we are looking at, should this proposal be approved, having PAL operate as a standalone autonomous campus so that campus can be a transitional campus. One of the things that we see with our 6th graders that you don't see in the state of Texas, the norm is that 6th graders perform and you see scores drop in 7th grade. But what is happening in Little Elm is the scores drop, they plummet in 6th grade. And so we have to do something different. We have to be creative. And I think that we will be able to transition, in the superintendent's leadership team and the middle school feel strongly about that campus being a transitional campus where parents can have and students can have that smooth transition from elementary to 6th grade. There can be some flexible scheduling, creative scheduling to meet their needs. And that will allow a current assistant principal to serve in that principal capacity and focus on instruction and have the support from an assistant principal. We're also looking at a college and career advisor to work with the high school counseling team to support House Bill 5 initiatives. We need that support in informing and educating parents on financial aid, on scholarships, on graduation plans. And right now we are at a ratio of 1 to 500 with our counselors to students. Our high school has grown tremendously over the last several years, but the counseling staff has been at 4 for probably at least 8 to 10 years. So we certainly need that support because the counselors are stretched thin and they just do not have that time to really provide the support to educate our parents and students on options after high school. We're also looking at a web specialist. Obviously, as technology advances and has advanced, and you look at other school districts' websites and the demand for additional electronic communication means, we are a little bit behind and we need some support in that area. And we are looking at changing our web design, thanks to the communications department hard work. But in order to maintain that, we certainly need support with the web specialists. And if you look at mid-size and larger school districts, they have staff members who can dedicate their time to that. And in addition to the staff members, we are looking at primarily a couple of reclassifications, but some stipends for growing programs such as cheerleading, band, and bringing on board an academic program. So in sum, that is what we're asking for. This is the bare bones. We have worked for at least a couple of months to get to this point. This is what we need to meet the needs of our students. And if you have any questions, I would be more than glad to answer them.
Just real quick, we were looking at some of the different teachers. I noticed, we dropped significantly on some of them. I guess my concern would go back to the SPED teachers. I noticed we have is it just 3 that would go into that department?
We have, excluding the speech pathologist and diagnostician, we have a special ed teacher that's included in the teacher number that would go to the high school.
Go to the high school?
So a total of 4?
Correct.
So we're comfortable that additional support will be what we need, or?
This will provide some relief, not the relief we want. Again, this is all going to boil down to, this is what we can do right now without considering what possible additional funding the state can provide. But even that, considering that if the state were to be able to provide $1 million to $3 million, there's no guarantee that that's going to roll over after the legislative session of 2017. So it's really hard to allocate recurring costs when there's no guarantee that that money is going to come back. And then we've also got to look at the possibility of considering other things should that money come forward when it comes to benefits and when it comes to a compensation package as well. But this will provide some relief to the caseload, specifically at the high school level.
It's like a total of 30 head count. I have the same concern Ms. Harlan has. Is that going to be sufficient with the growth we're expecting?
As we have this year, we've had to apply for, and this is the norm now since the cuts of the budget cuts in 2011. Many districts now apply for waivers, and we have a good number of waivers right now as far as class sizes. The state ratio is 22 to 1. It is quite normal in school districts to have 23 and 24, and we are looking at, because of the position we're in, starting the school year off possibly with asking for waivers. So we will probably start the school year off with some elementary classrooms at the 22, past the 22 to 1 ratio.
So total staffing plan right now, we're at 1.8 total?
1.8 million.
Okay, originally we were at 2.4.
We were at 2.499 prior to really evaluating what we absolutely had to have versus what we could hold off on. And with the positions we discussed before, we're looking at our Human Resource Services Department developing a staffing plan for the next 3 years and making sure that a lot of the needs, because you see the changes on the document, are addressed over the next 3 years within that staffing plan, and phasing in some positions such as additional special ed teachers, reading specialists, instructional coaches. Those would be phased in.
So that drop, so what's the impact of the overall budget with that drop from 2.4 to 1.8? What's the overall impact of the budget? Is it balances out?
The impact on the reason that it was dropped, there's only so much money in that maintenance and operations side on forecasted revenue. So what we ask people to do is come with the big dream to start with. We'll throw it in the funnel, see what comes out at the end in terms of what we can afford based on forecasted revenue. based on forecasted revenue, we're within, with no extra money from the state, we're within about $300,000 of forecasted revenue. So that makes CFOs nervous to even be that close. That doesn't include, at this point, we've frozen all, campus budgets are already in, at pretty much what they had requested, and those are all in. At the central office level, at this point, those budgets have all been frozen at the 14, 15 levels, which will not allow us to move forward, but we're going to freeze them until we see what the state does. Otherwise, there'll be a number of things that we can't do that will severely limit us moving forward. And I think Matthew's point about what we did then is said, all of these positions at the $3.7 million, they're all needed. We just can't afford them at once. So it's a matter of what do we put in, and then space that over the next few years as TAVs grow and as student enrollment grows, additional funding to be able to start to say, okay, this year let's add this in, this year let's add that. Because we're still recovering from the cuts of whatever the number was, 80 teachers, 90 teachers, whatever it was a few years back. We know we've grown tremendously in students over that period, I think just short of 900 students, but we've not added back all of those positions.
So we're adding, this will be...
With 900 new kids.
Okay, so we're adding about 30 positions for this coming year.
And much of that is, some of that, much of it's for growth, just because we have new kids coming.
So with our current teacher load and that additional 30 we have here, we're coming back about 1.8.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And if you were to visualize, if you looked at a bar graph of 2011 of teachers, you see a big dip in 12 and 13 and 14, and if you look at 2015, they'd be pretty even. So we're about, as far as the number of teachers, we are about where we were back in 2011. So we're just now getting to the point where we're catching up with staff, but we have 1,000 more kids.
So I'm looking at the document where it says instructional culture 1 to 0. So basically it's just removing that from...
That was in the original proposal that had gone. We had 6, and then we reduced it to 1, and that went to y'all last week. And what we had decided is we would phase it in and place the 1 at Lakeside Middle School, as that was where the most need was. But then in needing to get to a certain dollar amount, we had to eliminate that position and hold off to see either put it in our staffing plan or see what the state does. Although, as I said earlier, really trying to avoid assigning those dollars to FTEs because it is recurring. So I did take that off. But I left that on here because it was part of the original proposal that was sent to you all last week.
When do we know legislative discussion? When is that supposed to be finalized? You got any idea of dates when it's supposed to finally make the votes?
I don't have the final date. It's still in committee.
And they could also go, if they go to a special session, could mean July.
July, before we do a final budget of what they plan to do.
Which for us is not ideal for planning purposes. However, since we don't approve the budget till later, we're still okay. So what we've created are contingency, like those departmental budgets we froze, we have contingency budgets. And then staffing would be a matter of, you've got to balance the staffing with if there was a consideration for increased compensation out of those extra dollars from the state.
So what does this bring our total staffing to now with this additional 30?
I can't tell you how many we have right now offhand, but I can. We have about 750 employees. This would put us close to 800, not counting transportation.
So we're adding additional staff, keeping costs contained. We're adding additional staff, supports in areas we need. We just need to state the bonds, so we can see what we can actually do, where's that.
Just to reiterate, with the reduction, will we come 300,000 before we get our budget on it?
Well, based on projected revenue, there's a between 3 and 340,000, I think, right now, that based on projected revenue, which was a conservative, but that's why you want a budget.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So we actually reduced our budget, increased staff a little bit here, it's like.
Well, we didn't reduce, the overall budget will go up.
Okay.
It's just based on these numbers, we reduced these numbers from what the original intent. We felt comfortable with the 2.5, so we really started to look at it and felt like we needed to back it out, and that's why we're down to the 1.8.
We still got additional staff too.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of these will be split between high school and middle school, looks like.
Yes,
A lot
in
of
elementary.
teachers at the elementary level.
Elementary, okay.
So distributed throughout all levels.
Okay. All right.
Any
discussion?
Just make sure that updated with the board stuff.
Yes, this will be in the board book for the meeting on the 19th.
All right. Discussion item number 9, discuss ISK strategic plan.
I'm going to attempt to do this without the mic. I'm going to give you all an update on where we are with the strategic planning process. Do I need to clicker? Sorry. Just a reminder that in working through this process with community members and employees, school board members, there's one common goal in mind, and that goal is student success and keeping kids at the forefront of everything we do. Going back to kind of what the strategic plan embodies, there are 3 different phases, and what we're doing today is part of phase 2. Phase 1 is confirming commitment and readiness for a strategic plan. And Dr. Strike had said it before and mentioned to y'all in the initial presentation to the board that he felt strongly that the district was in a good place to begin the strategic planning process, and he felt strongly about the district not wasting any time. He also mentioned that there were some core people here in our district who had the capability and the talent to be able to move forward with the work of strategic planning. And so with that, in seeing that there was a commitment here within our community and within the organization, it assisted us in moving to the second phase, which is the strategic planning process, in which the work is done for planning, and then we get to the point of today where we seek board approval, and then the final stage, which I will go into a little further at the end of the presentation, is the strategic action planning. So what this work consists of is 2 bodies of work that come together to make the strategic plan. The strategic planning work started back in March, before the 25th and 27th of March, where there were forums held to seek community input, to allow the opportunity for district-wide community input and support. And then after that point, the strategic planning began with a 3-day strategic planning process, which was a retreat-style work session that involved intense work by approximately 40 individuals. And where we are today is looking at the strategic planning action work, which is taking place right now. and will take place up until May the 22nd. And as I looked at the pictures that Dr. Strike uses, puzzle pieces, I thought of our district as a puzzle, where we all knew what the outcome should be and what the picture should look like. Student success. But where we've been, for myself as far as my experience and in talking to others I work closely with who've been in the district for even longer, it's like you see the district as a puzzle that's in a box that's been shaken up. All of the pieces are there. We know what the outcome should be, but we don't have the proper guidance, the proper steps in place to help us put that puzzle together so that we have that outcome, student success. And so the work begins with the work of the two teams coming together to complete the puzzle. So we have the strategic planning team and the action planning teams working together to create the document that is going to be shared with you today. And where it all starts are the core values, and I'm going to get into the core values here shortly. The core values are what is at the heart of everything that the mission is about. The core values are the center of the vision, are the center of the mission, are the center of our goals and our strategies that I'm going to explain to you here shortly. So core values, what are the core values? Going back and giving you all a refresher as to what the core values are. And if you recall, there was community input that was gathered and was then taken to the strategic planning team to then look at and reevaluate and dissect and discuss and then determine what our core values will be. Our core values are an expression of our fundamental values and overriding convictions that will frame all we do in our organization. And many times you see core values that are posted in schools, and you'll see that in our schools, but they're all different. And so what we're going to be able to do, hopefully, with the board's support, is have common core values district-wide. Core values that Hackberry lives by, core values that Lakeside lives by, core values that the Child Nutrition Department lives by. As Lobos, what do we value? So what the strategic planning team did was they looked at all of the feedback that was provided by the community, held discussions, analyzed, and then determined what our core values would be. And what we did find when you had the 40 individuals working together and discussing is that there were so many commonalities as far as what the individual groups believed in that were very aligned and consistent with the input that was provided with the community forums in early March. And so our core values that were determined were that as Lobos, we value a culture founded on the highest qualities of character. As Lobos, we value unleashing every individual's highest potential. As Lobos, we are creating a community where every student loves to learn and every teacher loves to teach and every person is proud to call home. As Lobos, we value a foundation of culture that values unity and pride. As Lobos, we value embracing all of our kids as all of our kids. As Lobos, we are open, transparent. We offer open, transparent, and timely communication. So we've already seen some things happening in our district that are aligned with our core values. For example, all of our kids are all of our kids. Next year, all of the mascots at every elementary school are going to be Lobos. We're all going to be Lobos. And so that's going to help unite us. But we're also all responsible for the learners in the district. Hackberry teachers are responsible for the learners at Oak Point. And what's going to take place when our employees come back in the fall and after this is launched and shared at convocation, our principals are going to be able to share these core values with their staff members. They're going to be able to work in groups and discuss what these core values mean and define what it is and what it's going to look like And so once that work is done on campuses and within departments, then we're able to define what is a culture founded on the highest qualities of character. Because time and time again, the one we heard the most was integrity. And so integrity is highly, highly valued in our community and among our teaching staff, all employees. So that's probably something that is going to come out of the work that the principals are going to do on their campuses, is define exactly what each core value is. Not only that, but it's also going to allow our teachers and our paraprofessionals to buy in, because they're going to truly understand and be able to articulate our core values. Because many times what happens when a strategic plan is rolled out, you get this nice packet, beautifully printed packet that costs money, that then is maybe placed on a shelf or placed on a wall, and it really has no meaning. Where our campuses, our departments are really going to be able to live by that, because we're all going to have an opportunity to define what our core values mean to us. And so after discussing the core values, we had the opportunity to talk about the vision of our district. What is the overall vision of our school district? The vision of Little Elm ISD, of our community, is to be the, in all caps, destination district. So later on, as you read our strategies and our goals, are those strategies and goals going to help us become the destination district? So everything we do is going to help us get there. So does that vision answer the question, what will success look like? Success is going to look like that line of teachers that are waiting to talk to our executive director of HRS. There's room at Plano. They didn't have a long line. Frisco didn't have as long a line. There were all of these other districts that looked just like us that had no one, but yet we had a line of teachers wanting to speak to us. What does success look like? Little Elm becoming the destination district. And I think we're slowly making progress. What is the mission of our district? The mission of Little Elm ISD is to engage, equip, and empower each student to realize their full potential. How are we going to accomplish that mission? Another question to think about as you are reading through the strategies that are tied to goals, are they going to help us engage, equip, and empower each student to reach their full potential? The 4 categories that we looked at to achieve our mission were recruitment, retention, and engagement, teaching and learning, communications and community partnerships, and career and technical education. Those were the 4 categories, and as you've heard before, we didn't have a category specifically for finance or a category for technology, because those are intertwined into the 4 categories that were presented to you all originally. Finance, there are going to be fiscal implications for programs and for people, and technology is vital, especially when it comes to recruitment and retention, when it comes to community relations. So you're going to see, when you look at strategies, and then more specifically at action plans, that technology and finance are involved in this process. They're just not exclusive categories. So what is the goal? Before we get into the first goal, the goal is the organization's commitment to achieving strategic, measurable, attainable, results-oriented actions that excel and exceed present performance. So within each category, and the first one was recruitment, retention, and engagement, our strategic planning team develop goals to go with that category. That goal is going to help us exceed current performance. LEISD will commit to engage in recruitment and retention practices which will ensure each employee is well matched to expectations of their role and the district's core values. So just an example, and I won't go in and discuss all of these, but with this goal, this goal becomes part of our district's core values. And so what we can do as a district is make sure that when we post positions that we have our core values as part of those job postings so that people know that's what Little Elm is all about. In Little Elm, all of their kids are all of their kids. In Little Elm, they are about character. I'm a match for Little Elm. So what strategies go along with accomplishing that goal? We will continue to research and apply best practices to maintain a competitive edge. Mr. Roberts talked about a competitive edge, so he's already on target with that. We will develop and provide a district-wide plan that strategically and clearly defines staffing needs. We will create and implement with fidelity standard operating procedures for recruitment and onboarding of new employees. LEISD will create an atmosphere of servant leadership. That is goal number 2 under recruitment and retention. What strategies will help us accomplish that goal? We will identify and utilize what drives employee engagement and organizational health. We will provide for employee enrichment through the development of individual professional pathways. For teaching and learning, the first goal, Little Elm ISD will engage each student in rigorous, relevant learning experiences. How are we going to do that? We'll provide specific and purposeful learning and calibration on rigor, relevance, and learner engagement. We will systematically evaluate and assess learning programs against internal and external benchmarks to ensure each student's success. We will provide learning experience that add value to each student and extends their learning. We will continually audit and evaluate the curriculum to ensure vertical and horizontal alignment pre-K through 12 to ensure each student's success. Goal number 2 in teaching and learning. Little Elm ISD will engage each staff member in a culture of collaboration that extends each student's learning. We will provide specific and purposeful professional development opportunities that drive instruction and extend learning for each student. We will provide specific and purposeful professional learning opportunities and opportunities to participate in professional learning communities that ensures collaboration for each student's success. We will foster a culture of trust so that each staff member and student feel safe to collaborate and take risks to extend each student's learning. And we will pursue and value partnerships between and among students, parents, and our community focused on extending each student's learning. Our first goal under communication and community partnerships is LEISD will effectively communicate with all stakeholders. We will develop and implement practices for communicating targeted messages with all appropriate populations. We will broadcast the destination district story and celebrate the successes. We will develop and implement practices of receiving, processing, and responding to communication of all stakeholders. The second goal under communication and community partnerships is LEISD will proactively build mutually beneficial relationships with community partners that will stimulate opportunities for enrichment. We will enhance and expand existing relationships and partnership opportunities. We will pursue new partnership opportunities, and we will establish finding sources for enhanced educational programming. Under career and technical education, LEISD will offer a broad range of relevant pathways, enhance life experiences, and career opportunities. We will do that by actively recruiting students at all levels for enrollment in CTE programs. We will hire and retain instructors with experience in and a passion for a career field related to the pathway that they teach. We will systematically evaluate current and future job markets and continuously update relevant pathways to meet the needs of every learner. We will develop, maintain, and evaluate mutually beneficial partnerships with local and surrounding area industries and institutions of higher education. We will equip our CTE instructors with the required tools and adequate facilities necessary to facilitate high-quality learning in their unique pathway. LEISD will equip students with the skills necessary to be competitive in the current and in the future job market. We will integrate key soft skills in all aspects of CTE. We will evaluate and provide feedback on each student's proficiency in key soft skills, and we will facilitate timely and relevant professional growth for CTE teachers in order to equip students for competitive job markets. So as you can see, this was, up to this point, was the work of the strategic planning team, which was an intense 3 days that involved a lot of discussion, a lot of engagement with one purpose in mind, and that purpose was student success. And so what are the next steps? Where do we go from here? Moving forward, once approved, on May the 22nd.
Very excited about where we are in the future. The nice part about this plan is it allows us to year on year, on end, to set our goals and reach those goals and go after those goals with the main defined mission of, hey, this is our main goal. What are the strategic aspects we have to do it? So very excited about this. I know me and Dr. Stryker talked about this quite a bit with some board members. This was an important part of who we are as a district to drive us forward. This is critical for us because it brings us all together as one and make sure that we are rowing the boat in the same direction. Because if we're not going to row the boat in the same direction, then things get turned around.
Same direction and going forward.
I think even during our open session when the lady spoke of that vertical alignment piece, that we drive back, and that's where this becomes so internalized that if you say all of our kids are all of our kids, because we heard that actually that came out of some forums where people said we see a break between fifth and it's like, well, once they're gone, they're not my kids anymore. And really Matthew's statement about, I don't care if they're Hackberry or they're at Oak Point or Chavez or Lakeview or Pressworth or wherever they're at, Brent, we all own those kids. And we're going to take care of every one of them as a team.
Right. Very excited about this. Very excited about this to the community, and we have a plan. And that's an important aspect. So
thank you.
So thank you very much. And we are looking at developing our kids to go to college. We're looking at kids to go to careers. We're looking at kids to go to military. So we're developing our kids to be able to handle the three main tracks in life. Right. Our children will at 12th grade. They will inherently go to one of those three levels. They will go on to college, they will go to the military, or they will go into a career. And so we need to equip our kids to be able to do one of those three things. And some of them will go into a career military, and vice versa, but at least they're equipped to leave our school systems and go forth and be productive members of society. And hopefully they'll come back to the well, more importantly, and they'll serve our community. I know several people have lived in Little Elm, have left Little Elm, come back to Little Elm, or teachers in our school systems in our districts, and develop businesses here, etc. So we want people to come back and be a part of our community and contribute just like we're doing here. So great job.
Thank you. And you said something, Mr. English, earlier about it being a framework, and it is a framework for what we all do. And what has been really interesting is now we're in the evaluation season, and this is all new, but when administrators are having conversations with other administrators that they supervise, and they're speaking the language that is part of the strategic plan when it comes to this is what you're already doing and how it is aligned to where we're going, or when it comes to developing goals for the upcoming school year and utilizing the language that was developed by the strategic planning team, I think that is huge, and it's just brought forward, and Dr. Strike and I spoke earlier, an energy and excitement to the district, even to those who know very, very little, but just the little that they know, it is just provided a really good, solid reason to continue to be part of this organization, and it's exciting, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. Discussion item number C, One Digital Learning Initiative, Sustainability. Oops. Yeah, there you are.
Well, good evening. I kind of regret that I have to follow Matthew. He's such an eloquent speaker. I have for you tonight some information, and one of the things that I'd like to do is make sure that you either direct your attention to the board or to the paper copy that you have. We made some changes. I've been agonizing over this for months, trying to come up with the best solution to recommend to you and to be a good steward of the taxpayer dollars. And I want to share with you just a few things about our vision for digital learning and what we want to happen with digital learning, and then provide you with some opportunities to look at some options for sustainability. Our vision for digital learning is about equitable access, providing every student with the equipment that they need so that we can equip them and engage them and empower them to do the learning. It's also about personalized learning, about making sure that each student has what they need to be successful, and also about applied and engaging learning. That learning, if it's not engaging, they're not going to participate, and if it's not applied, then they really haven't learned anything. And here we go. I guess I need to work my magic here. There we go. Oh, too fast. All right. So why do we participate with digital learning? We have done extensive research. Part of what we have researched was through Project RED, Revolutionizing Education. And this is the research that we fall back on most of the time. We see that if you look here at the research, a properly implemented, and you notice that is circled, that's circled for a reason, properly implemented one-to-one initiative, you see that there is a increase in the reduction. That's kind of a double negative there, but it's an increase in the 92% disciplinary action reduction when there is a properly implemented one-to-one initiative. 90% have an increase in high stakes test scores. 89% dropout rate reduction. 63% increase in graduation rates. All of this is imperative on a properly implemented one-to-one. And I emphasize that again and again. Why do we continue with this digital learning? Because 40% of the state curriculum is already digital, and that number is increasing. Required state testing is increasingly online. It will continue to become online more and more. And we've already made some investments in digital learning. We've spent funds on digital curriculum. We've spent funds on infrastructure to accommodate the one-to-one. And we spent about $3 million in devices over the last 4 years that are now at the end of their life cycle. And that's the reason for my coming to you tonight. I've got some options for you to look at, and then I'll make a recommendation. The first one is a leasing model. Some member of the board had asked us, have we looked into leasing? And we have, and I'll share that information with you. The second option that we have for you tonight is to stay with the current model, MacBooks at the high school, Chromebooks 4th through 8th grade as a purchase. We'll also look at Chromebook, a 3-year phase-in from grades 4 to 12, and Chromebook with a 3-year phase-in, grades 5 to 12. This first one is the lease model. And you can see that we have made a 6-year projection. Now, of course, with any projection, Grant will tell you all projections are wrong. And we may be, but we have to work with the information that we have today. And so if we look at the cost of a Mac Air lease, it's somewhere between $518,000 and $529,000 a year. And that means every 4 years we would be refreshed with a brand new set of MacBooks at the high school. But we're going to be making that investment of between $518,000 and $529,000 every single year just for the high school. And then we look at the Chromebooks, which the education price for us is around $280. And you can see all these numbers here are based on the 10-year projection from the demographer. You can see in 15-16 we would need around 1,500 Chromebooks, and that would run us about $446,000 in the first year. You notice that we don't buy any MacBooks for the first year because they are going to be in their 4th year, and those have a 4-year life cycle. Chromebooks, we're hoping to get a 3-year life cycle out of those. So you can see as we move forward, every year once that lease payment starts, you see that number jump to $855,000, $873, on and on and on, with a 6-year investment of about $4.6 million, $4.8 million. So let's take a look at the purchase model. We have a little bit more flexibility here because we have the option to sell these devices, not turn them in for a new set. Okay? So we'll have a little bit of an option. We can sell them for around $260 on average at the end of their 4-year life cycle, just depending on their whether they're pristine condition, just depending on their condition. So you can see that if we were to replace everything all at once, then your cost on the first year would be $1.6 million. And this is kind of a cyclical piece here. You have 1.6 million, then 337,000. That's a lot of that's a lot of numbers for me. 355,000, and then again the 4th year you'd replace all those MacBooks at 1.5. So that over 6 years is 4.6 million. All right, here is the third option. Chromebook 512. You can see we really tried to think outside the box on this, and how could we get the most for our dollar. And you can see that in 2015-16, we would leave the MacBooks for their final year at the high school, and we would try to squeeze one more year out of half of them in 2016-2017. And then we would replace Chromebooks. Now this model looks a little bit different because what we've done here is we've put all the numbers in for all the grades, and we've, down at the bottom, we would say how many we would need to buy and how many we would abandon because they'll be at the end of their life, and how many inventory we would have on hand that would still be here in their life cycle. Okay? And so what we find is at the bottom of this year is a $419,000 investment for this year, but over 6 years it's only $2.2 million. This model, we would have to buy some teacher computers for the middle school. Those are at the end of their life cycle, and that's about an $83,000 investment. All right, so 5 through 12. This is taking away 4th grade. Okay, so we're going to actually have a little bit of additional cost here because we're going to have to make sure that we've got at least 2 to 3 computers in every 4th grade classroom. We're going to have to make sure that we have, I guess that's it. So that's about a $40,000 to $50,000 increase over that number right there, and those would be at probably a 5-year life cycle. So you could probably just add that right down there to the bottom total, 2.6 and 2.2, and then add about $50,000 to that. So here's the Chromebook 4 through 12. You can see that it only increases about $200,000 over the 6-year life cycle. However, it does raise this year's amount quite substantially to $593,000, and that's because we would have to add those teacher computers in. In previous models, we'd looked at maybe repurposing some of the MacBooks from the high school for the middle school teachers, some of the newer ones, which would have resulted in a savings there. But as we got to looking at that, it was actually cheaper for us to spend the $83,000 to get the middle school teachers new computers versus repurposing. So it was actually cheaper to do that. So these are the options that we have before us, and we look at the 4 options here all together. Leasing is a 4.8, it's the most expensive model. Purchasing, because we have that little bit of flexibility in who we can sell the machines to at the end of their life, is a little bit less at 4.6. Obviously, since we're 4 through 12 is 2.4 million, and 5 through 12 is 2.2 million, and that's over a 6-year life cycle, or 6-year term, 6-year investment. Again, I've really agonized about this recommendation because financially it makes a lot of sense for us to look at the 5-12 and leave the 4th graders out. But I would urge you to think about the political implications of that and what that might look like for teachers who are already geared for one-to-one, who've had a full year of one-to-one in the classroom. Obviously, the agony comes from knowing what teachers want and need, knowing what kids want and need, and knowing what we can financially put together for them. So at this time, we believe that that investment would have to come from the district fund balance. The financial impact would be $510,720, but we would be having to come back to you and ask for the $83,000 for middle school teachers at some point under this model. And then finally, I want to talk to you about future considerations. We're at a time where it's a tipping point between this being an initiative and this being operations. And we have to make a decision about whether or not we want to continue this program. And this is the time to do that. At least we're getting very near that time. What I would like to ask the board is that you fund this initiative as an initiative for 1 more year and allow us under new administration in our technology department to create some metrics that we can come back to you next year. And that's when we can make the decision about is this an initiative or is this go into operations and this is how we want to operate. Under previous administrations, this particular initiative was started without those metrics in place, and so we didn't have the capacity to collect the data that we needed in order to come back to you with a solid recommendation about what do we do going forward. Any questions?
I did have a question. With the Chromebooks versus the MacBooks, I've seen it before. I know I had it in my own household. Sorry. The printing options.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know you had put something out there, but I couldn't remember if it was for the MacBook or the Chromebook.
Yes, ma'am.
It's worse when you get further away from it.
Yes, I apologize for that. We'll have somebody come out and take a look at that.
Sorry. So I guess my concern would be if we go to Chromebooks for all students, what are the capabilities of them being able to print when they go home?
Chrome devices have the capability of printing on any device. You can, if they're networkable, and a lot of people are, you can't hardly buy a printer these days without having some kind of network capacity. But you can plug in a printer. You can plug it in right. It's very simple. It's just a set of about 6 instructions to make it print.
Okay. I just know we ran into trouble with it. So.
And that's something we talked. My lead facilitator talked about having those parent universities, those opportunities to talk to parents about those kinds of things, and that's something that we really want to make sure that parents know how to support the device in their own home environment. You bet.
I do have a couple of questions.
All right.
So I think my biggest concern has always been the 4th and the 5th grade levels. And I know this is the first year that we implemented that grade level. I heard a lot of comments from parents that my children aren't mature enough to hold on to a computer. They lose them, they break them. Do we have any statistics in terms of how many replacements we have to go through for 4th and 5th graders, and how detrimental would it be really to a teacher to not have Chromebooks at that grade level?
We, again, the metrics weren't in place for us to come back and report on those specifics for you. Could probably pull together how many repairs we did for 4th and 5th grade, but anecdotally, I can tell you that 4th and 5th grade had less issues than 6, 7, and 8. We actually one of the things that we talked about with 4th grade is taking about 6 to 9 weeks and making sure that those devices stayed at the school for those first 6 to 9 weeks, and ease them into that process with the 4th grade.
And then I noticed that you had nothing for district abandonment between 2015.
Just because all of those devices would still be in their life cycle.
So are they guaranteed? Do we have a warranty for 3 years on these computers?
We do have a 2-year warranty, but we do have an in-house repair. We will have an in-house repair depot next year with a certified HP partner repair personnel. I was going to say repairman, would be more inclusive.
And that falls for those that are not under warranty?
That's correct.
What kind of warranty are we talking about?
It's a basic manufacturer's warranty.
That's not my turn.
I guess my question, I guess this is more curriculum instruction question more than anything about technology. Is the impact of technology on the curriculum instruction? I hear businesses and oftentimes, and I don't know what's happening nationwide, kids are unable to write cursive or read cursive. Kids are not given the opportunity to actually learn to read and write certain things. And I'm a big proponent of technology, but I also am a proponent of making sure our kids can do the basic things when they leave our school system, like read cursive.
Absolutely.
Write a letter.
Absolutely.
And so, I just want to ensure that our kids are having that capabilities when they leave our school system, to be able to sit down when they're sitting in some sandbox somewhere, right? If they join the military, for example, and they need to sit down and write a letter to their mother, that they can actually write a letter to their mother, or vice versa. Their mother sends them a letter in cursive. They have the ability to read a letter in cursive. So mine is more around curriculum instruction and things like that. I think sometimes we use some of the technology, we forget some of the finer points and the successful points. So that's just my thought on certain things.
If you spend any time with me at all, you'll realize that I promote a balanced curriculum, and technology should not be, the kids should not be on the screen 100% of the time. If you'll remember back to Julie's presentation where she talked about the learning is the key piece, and technology should only be the accelerator.
Yep.
It should not be the driver. And that's all of my team ascribes to that philosophy.
For me, that's, and we talked about this, some of the importance of some of the finer points that you're saying, the finer points of making sure our kids, and also it differentiates us in the community, right? It provides certain things that we now see tend to be a little bit abandoned now by some of the school systems, some of the finer things, the impact of the motor skills, sitting down and actually learning how to write a letter, and the mind capacity to do that, and thinking possibilities that a child has to be able to do those certain things. And another important aspect is I want to make sure not only our kids can sit down and write a letter, but I also want to make sure that our kids, when they leave our school system, if they need to learn how to type, we're teaching typing in classes, right? So our kids can leave the school system and get out on the computer and do their work and type out effectively, efficiently, whether they go into secretarial areas or they do some other areas to make sure that they're doing those capabilities too. So.
Our long-range technology plan addresses just that.
Eventually, we would like to see foundation courses put back in the elementary schools so the kids know how to run a mouse and know the keyboard and know how to type. And then they'll finish that out through middle school. And then we'll multi-prong approach. So we want those foundation classes for students, then they have the opportunity to take technology applications in middle school. And then we would have also integrated technology throughout all of the classes.
So I'm going to throw one more at you. Sorry, Adam.
That's all right.
I'm going to throw one more at you.
All right.
Yeah, look, you know, like Strike knows how these thoughts are going to my head. You know, with some of the technology we're doing, particularly along some of the job prospects in our area right now, which has to do with networking, technology, computer science, programming, etc. You know, pushing the capability of kids to do computer programming even down further down to a lower level. It's surprising what kids can do third, fourth, and fifth grade. People go, well, I don't know if kids can program it, but try it. You'd be surprised. You get a third grader, you teach them how to program a particular language, and then all of a sudden, by the time they're sixth grade, they can fully program computers. So, just some thought around it, and that goes to your thing about career technology. This thought of how do we get, if we get a subset of our kids, let's start teaching them, get them up in place, so they start learning those skill sets by the time they get to middle school, high school. I would love to see our kids leave our school systems with they have plenty of certifications out there. Plenty of certifications, no certifications to do very well for career-wise for kids to leave our school. So
Absolutely.
just a thought. Just a thought.
Appreciate that very much.
Just one additional comment. You know,
Yes, sir.
I'm a huge Mac proponent. I love Mac products. That's what I have in my house. What's interesting is I've got a close friend of mine that is quite the opposite. He hates Mac. He doesn't want anything with Mac. And so, in conversation with me, and even through my experience, you know, he's got 2 kids with Chromebooks who's had trouble. They break all the time. He's always having some kind of an issue. And his high school kid, in my high school, that kid has had their Macs for 3 years. Not a single issue.
Mm.
So my concern is, in trying to save money, are we going to end up paying or spending more money in the long run by purchasing?
We believe that we have vetted out the available Chromebooks that are out there now. One of the things that I have said since I came to this position is that sometimes there's a cost with being innovative, and I think that's what we're experiencing with the middle school Chromebooks. That they were the very first model that was really out there, and we were on the cutting edge, and that's part of being the destination district, is that we're on the cutting edge, but sometimes there's a cost associated with that innovative move, and I think that's where we are with those. The white HP Chromebooks there was an issue with them, and they basically have recalled those, and we've negotiated a complete replacement of all of those, and so all of those will be completely replaced at HP's cost.
Well, and I know certain, we have several vendors now for Chromebooks that recently I think there's like 2 or 3 vendors originally.
Correct.
And now there's like 50 of them.
Correct. And we actually are looking. We feel like we have a very good, solid base with the HP G3, the black Chromebook. But we are looking at one that is. I got a little more rugged case around it as well for those middle schoolers, because they like to.
And you know, we've had discussions, and I think you've indicated that on the Chromebook, we have more control over what type of internet use there is.
That's correct. That's correct. With the Chromebook, we do have that's actually my point. One of my points about, there was some question about around BYOD, and one of the things is that we would have to we would lose that control over those safety issues if we were to look at a BYOD initiative.
Even over a Mac, we have more controls.
We have more controls with the Chromebook than we do over the Mac, because we do subscribe to a product called GoGuardian, and that product actually filters them at the user level. So whenever we have the Chromebooks locked down where only one of our users can log on to it, so a parent can't log on with their Chrome, with their Google, with their Gmail account. Only an LEISD student can log on to one of our Chromebooks. And then that then takes GoGuardian is connected to that user, and they are filtered. So it's a second layer of, so when they're here, they have basically 3 layers of protection: the teacher, the filter at the user level, and then the filter at the network level as well.
Also, I think the nice thing with Chromebooks too, Chromebooks doesn't come with, I think there's Mac Air network that is Mac to Mac connectivity, which Chromebooks don't have. So that adds a little bit of a safeguard, believe it or not, because kids connect to Mac over the network, they can connect direct without network filtering between them. So nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's right there.
Okay.
Still on stage.
All right, I'll get it switched over here to my next presentation. This one's really great news. I have done a lot of research about telephones. The very first day I was in this position, I got an email from the business service office, and they said, "Hey, can you approve these bills?" And I said, "By what criteria do you want me to approve these?" And so we had a good discussion about telephones, and I've learned a whole lot about telephones. It's a very different world with telephones. And so I want to talk to you today about 2 options. Our phone system is at end of life for the district. And I believe you've probably heard this presentation before about the phone system. So every day that it rains, or if we have any lightning, we all get in a circle and we pray that the PBX is going to come back up online when we have to reboot it. So we want to talk to you about the options for a telephony refresh for the district. I want to talk to you about 2 options. One is the PRI option, and that's what we already have in place. But we would need new hardware to replace the phones and a couple of the back infrastructure pieces. And then the other one is SIP, the SIP protocol. So this is the PRI protocol. And basically with PRI, you're looking at 2 connections into your district. You're looking at a phone connection and an internet connection. And if you look and see that we pay after or before E-rate funds us, and we'll talk more about E-rate in a minute, before E-rate funds us, we pay about $336,000 annually for our phones. And there is a lot of bloat there over the last 20 years, and not mismanaged but undermanaged phone system. You find that we just have some bloat there that we can kind of cut out. And our internet is about $36,000 annually. The SIP protocol basically takes that phone line away, and we use a dedicated SIP trunk or internet, piece of the internet, to go out and actually use the cloud to distribute those voice calls. And so basically we can look at the service there will run us about $260,000 annually. And we'll compare those in just a second here. Here we go. So refresh, if we were to refresh, this is total cost of ownership now. Understand that I'm not asking for any of these numbers today.
You guys heard that, right? Everybody said today.
But this is total cost of ownership. So if we were to refresh with the PRI model, our hardware would run us about $283,000. That's phones, that's controllers, that's all the infrastructure, all the hardware to make that system work. And then we would continue to pay $336,000 for service. Now that is going to be E-rated for this coming year, but only at 20%. And then after this year, it's going to be 0. So I didn't even include it in any of these comparisons because I want us to see apples to apples. So without E-rate, we're going to pay $336,000 for service, and then we'll pay $36,000 for internet. So that's going to bring us to a total of $619,000 for the total cost of ownership for internet service and telephones. And then every year after that, we're going to pay about $372,000 a year for telephone and internet. If we refresh with the SIP model,
we're looking at hardware of $125,000. And you think, well, how do you get that difference? You know, 283 to 125. With the SIP model, all of those controllers and that infrastructure reside in the cloud, and we buy it as a service rather than buying the actual hardware. And so that hardware price is our telephones, just the telephones, and some infrastructure for failover. So we'll talk more about that in a second. So our service through the SIP provider, we would not have a contract with AT&T for telephone service, except for failover. We wouldn't have a contract with XO. We wouldn't have a contract with Grande. We get rid of a lot of that bloat that we were talking about. And our service with them would run about $224,000 a year. And of course, we'll pay for our internet. It's going to be a little bit higher than that, but not a lot. And so we'll look at a total of about $385,000 for the first year and $260,000 on an ongoing basis. Just a tad over that. So you can see that there is definitely some savings in the SIP protocol. The quality service is just the same, if not better. We'll actually have a dedicated line of 10 megs that comes into the district and terminates on some of our failover equipment that will actually run all of that through a dedicated 10 meg line. So you're not going to lose any quality of service. You're not going to drop calls. You're not going to have the spotty packet loss. You know, when you call and it sounds like you're driving through a tunnel. You're not going to have any of that. So the administration recommends refreshing our telephone system with the SIP protocol option, and our financial impact would be $125,000 to the district fund balance. Questions?
Is that similar to VoIP?
It is. It's a VoIP solution. Yeah.
So that fee, is that for the use of the cloud, the $260,000? Is that what that fee is for?
That's correct. The 260 is our internet, is the price of our internet, plus the 224,930, which would be the service that yeah, that's right. That would be the service, the telephone service.
Do we know of any other school districts that are using this that's worked well with them? Have
We-
had any issues?
The particular vendor that we're looking at is the #1 VoIP provider for corporate offices. There are not a lot of school districts going this way, but I will say that I think that they'll probably be looking at this very soon. I don't think everybody has quite understood the impact that the telecommunications drop-off, phase-out of E-rate is going to have on districts.
Well, I completely avoid that word, so I understand that. Where's the tin can and the string option?
That is right there.
We have it.
Actually, this is something that I started this project. I think we started, Amir is here with me tonight. He's one of my consultants on this project, and I think we started like in February. We started really looking at meetings with different vendors in February, and we've spent a long time on this, really learning about telephony, really learning about what the options are, and there's a lot of options out there. So.
Now, one of the questions that I have, the company that you're talking about, they're the #1 with corporate offices. What is the number of phones that they typically have? Because we actually have this, we just installed it. One of the issues that we've already run into with it is when their service goes down.
Okay.
And so, and we're, 120 phones.
Right.
What kind of, what are the numbers?
Sure.
The size?
So inside that $125,000 hardware is a whole series of failovers. So if our WAN gets cut, an internal cut on our wide area network, or if their service goes down, we would fail over to an analog system. This part of that service cost is keeping 5 lines per campus, or an average of 5 lines per campus, 1 for elevator, 1 for fire, 1 for alarm, 1 for voice failover, just in case there was a cut or a service interruption.
It's an opportunity for the kids to learn Morse code. That's just
I'm not learning Morse code when I call.
we can click it. That's a useful skill nowadays, Morse code.
Well, that's a great savings, so thank you for finding that.
Certainly. Anything else? Thanks for your time.
Ms. Gutierrez, you don't want to learn Morse code? All right. Everything goes dark. You guys looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm using Morse code. You're like, he's the one guy you can communicate.
So you said.
Like, I got the S.
Yeah, get the S. All right. Item E, discuss financial reports. Mr. Anderson.
You have in front of you the standard financial reports, the budget amendments. And the financial reports behind the budget amendment with 58% of our year elapsed with 53% of our budget realized.
53%.
Or 63, I don't have my glasses on, 63.
Those other numbers. is
Those
kind
other-
of great.
So it's 63% realized.
Yes.
From now until August?
Yeah, the end of August 31st.
August 31st, good now. So you got 40% left. Looking good?
Yes. And the rest of,
What is that? Strike, can you ever see me down in Austin and have them sign the budget? Have you ever seen me down in Austin and make sure they sign the budget for the $3 billion?
I'll just Morse code.
Whatever works. Smoke screen, carrot, Morse code, whatever works.
What's that noise?
Yeah, what is Wait a minute, bird keep chirping at the window. Jeez. What's it wrapped around his leg? That's okay. Good.
and then- and then you'll see the grants and donations. We just had one small one there.
Who did presenting with the textbooks purchased? The textbook was included in 2014, 2015. Is that right? The textbook, I think we had a 400.
Yeah, are you looking at a budget amendment?
Okay, budget amendment.
Yeah, that was put in this year after the last board meeting.
Good. Any questions about the board? Next up, gifts and donations.
Yeah, and that's where, we just had one small donation.
I was gonna say there was a long list.
Well, this is all new donations.
All right. Item G, it is discuss capital one public fund resolution.
Yeah, all this is doing is changing the CFO position, which has been changed over as authorized signer, and taking off my predecessor. And that applies also to I and J.
Okay, great. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Are there documents that need to be
Yeah, I have documents here though, the son for the.
After consent.
Yes.
And then this includes the interlocal agreement and everything else too?
Yeah, Education Service Center Region 11 has a benefits co-op, and it's a co-op of about 35 school districts, and Financial Benefits Service, who's our third-party administrator, also is administrator on that co-op, and so they go out for bid, and it's a really well-ran, and so we have them come in and present to us, and we'd like to recommend that Little Elm ISD join the benefits co-op. And we dropped off some.
TRS will be deciding what those rates are going to be and what plans will be on.
Yeah, the last time was
35 days.
Okay, so the medical is the same.
Yeah, medical's going to be the same regardless of what we decide.
Okay, so what we're really looking at changing would be the dental, vision, like vision services, One American. That's, so we're looking at everything else.
Everything but
Our teachers are much valued assets. And I'm sorry, but the cost associated with teaching our TRS is pretty high. Our employer has 2,500 employees in our organization. We pay for people to go to plan, that's included, and it may be a portion of the pay is probably, I don't know if it's more or not, I would have to double check. But for a family of 5, for my example, I think on a monthly basis, I pay about $520 a month basis. So this is something I'm going to fight for.
So my next question is that 225, that's even if they're on family planning.
yeah, that's what the district provides.
That's the minimum that I think
Yeah,
you pay
that's
from
the
the
minimum
state.
that we are
Is the
required.
minimum. The state requires that minimum payment. And then we can elect to pay. I mean, districts pay lots of different, they just don't pay below the 225.
And which one of these is the high deductible?
It's active care with HT.
Oh, they should.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's just my forever.
And that was one of the proposed bills that's out there, is because when you originally went in, and if you elected to go with TRS Active Care, you were in it for life. But because of what some of the rates have done, school districts got to push back and said, is there any way we can get out of it? In the past, they said, absolutely not, you got a blood oath, sorry. But now there's a bill that's out there, whether it'll go anywhere or not, to look at allowing districts to opt back out of,
Well, I mean, you get
TRS Active Care.
35 districts, I mean, that's well over 30 or 40,000 people, I can imagine, as far as employees are concerned.
Yeah, I'm not sure the size. We'd be one of the larger districts in that
I mean,
co-op.
that's
Small districts.
Can we look at?
Though that would have no impact on the TRS.
Yeah, that will.
See, that's the problem. It's the number of people we cited which should impact what the costs are associated for.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, well, you look at risk pools and
Yeah.
everything else when you come to this, for the families. Can we look at leveling out a little bit? Because when you look at 225 for an employee only, and then for the spouse plus the children plus the family, because they do things differently. I would like to see it a little bit more, I guess, equitable, I mean, as far as the percentage of coverage versus just the standard rate for each tier, if we can do that. I know it might be, I know, it's huge.
We do it again.
They can put in spouse work coverage,
I was gonna say that, yeah, you get into so many variables then.
A lot of
You
corporate
start to
places are doing it.
differentiate that.
Yeah, and that's what we, I mean, and that's,
I mean, I did that with mine.
My Morse code to Austin is not sounding so pretty. Yeah, that outside really.
No, that he's the family.
It's bombarding us, and that's what it is. People understand.
I'm sure we have employees.
Right, you constantly, everybody sends Morse code to Austin, and tell them, look, this is what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Move.
And then we try to put other stuff on it. But I do like the fact that we would be adding the light.
For a minor expense of $4,500, does it give every employee at least $10,000?
So no matter what we do, the cost of TRS is going to be the same.
TRS.
It's going to be the
Yeah,
same.
we don't know if that cost is like.
Right. Well, I think since I've been on the board, they've increased their prices every year. There's been an increase every year. Typically, what we've done is try to cover the cost of the increase, right? Not the whole premium itself, but the $225 plus. If the increase is $50, you might increase by the percentage of the $50, right? So that's what the district has typically tried to do. And yeah, this is the first time I've seen the whole premium. I'm like, wow.
We're gonna be talking legislative retreat. Individuals will talk to Austin. And they'll talk about some of the things that are impacting the districts.
Yes. Yeah, I think this should be first on yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Self-note?
Yeah, self-note. That's the first one.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where we-
We are going to recommend SFCC for the construction work at the high school. We are under budget on that, so which is some good news. That name will be familiar because that is one of our job order contractors, and we did that through a competitive sale proposal. And typically, that given we just select the best value on a competitive sale proposal. However, SFCC was the lowest bid and the best value for the district, so that's why we chose them. And so we'll begin work right when school is out and have it ready for the new school year.
First of mind on what the renovations going to be next.
Okay, so we have where the old administration wing was at.
Yep.
We're going to convert those back to classrooms. And we're going to take the current shipping and receiving and turn that into a trading and industry lab, which will be for Will. And the shipping and receiving will be relocated over to Keene until we decide what we want to do with shipping and receiving. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That's where they're going to put that Morse code station too.
That's right.
I'm all with that. You see Dr. Strike in here perfect.
Yeah.
Instead of A, it's
Dr. Strike will teach. I will just point one other thing out, as Dr. Strike has asked all of us to try to, no matter what department we're in, to align with the board goals and the vision. And so you notice in the packet that we provided all the backup material concerning how we selected the contract and the criteria, not only for the board but also for the public. So that transparency that Mr. Gutierrez talked about, is we're doing that throughout the whole district.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That parking lot we're going to do through our JOC, and actually SFCC is going to be doing that work in there, because I know that is not only important to you, Mr. Ford, but to a lot of other people. So we're working on that right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right. Item 10, reports of the board president. Right, we had talked about the board operating procedures. Last time,
It's put on.
and I think you sent a copy inside of email.
Yes, I sent a separate email with the board operating procedures in that. And also, I've got recommendations in a spreadsheet that's going to kind of weight your direction as to where to send those.
Yes, please, recommendation.
You want to all board members?
Yeah, all board members. Please look at the recommendations for moving and adopting the recommendations.
And most of the recommendations are just, as you put things together, sometimes from other districts, they don't reflect us. Names, I had to change most of the strategic planning
because the district that some of that came from was a comprehensive plan and not a strategic plan, even though they used that term. So, but it cleaned up pretty good.
Okay, great. And will you send us a copy of that, or did you already?
Yeah, I sent the board operating procedures for you last week.
So where, are you going to send up?
I sent a second copy up just for your reference also yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Or it could have even been this morning. Time flies.
What time? 8:52? 8:52? Yeah, we'll see. Board conversation.
Oh, there it is. It's in the,
Update. With the update. The update.
It's the same copy, nothing's different. But what I do have is a chart that I can send everybody with
With updates.
with updates.
Okay, did you want to make updates inside the document you can see back?
That's entirely good. I didn't know which direction you wanted to go.
Send it over, I'll make an update, and then I'll send it back to you.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and send it to everybody so they can all review it.
Okay, now send it down. We will be bringing this before the board next week for approval based on the recommendations that I have. I'd like to have to make it for any board member that joins us, so you can know where to go forward with. So for that, a new board member who was elected was Jason Nelson, who's elected president in the audience today, and look forward to you joining the board next week. Look forward to a wide reading. All right. If there are no other items, request for agenda items? One.
yes. I'd like to do something over the entire gifted and talented program from, how they're selected, how you get into what the communication is about the program, what are the benefits of the program, how are we doing with the program, kind of just
Information.
a very, what, and do the academies play a role with our GT program?
That's right. And I've got all that information.
Yeah,
So
I think I've sent
do you
you
want,
the list.
is that okay to go to a June workshop, or do you want to quit?
No, June.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't know, I'm moving next week.
Well, no, I mean, I could put it in a Friday update, because we could have an actual board update, so everybody hears.
Yes.
I'll do that June.
As far as you have,
I had a parent concern over the life policy. Just seeing the policy how to enforce.
The LICE policy would have been formatted through our SHAC committee, and as it stands, which was done, I'm not sure, last fall, and approved.
Last fall.
Right.
It was approved.
They're a recommendation committee. The SHAC is a board committee that should have brought a recommendation to you all for approval of their plan period, not just the LICE piece. So that's one that Mr. Gutierrez and I have actually had a conversation about already. Our current policy follows the CDC recommendations, and it follows the Texas Health recommendations. However, there is a variance of what people do. CDC and the Texas Health went with a pretty broad definition.
so what is it going to do now? What is the policy? Do we want
And the recommendation
once we
is
see
they
it,
go home to be treated.
Do we treat it or do that?
No, not at all.
So then, that's what I'm saying, like, so the child has life in school.
There would be sent home and recommended for treatment.
Okay, so it's sent home,
But they can return.
Return until the treatment is completed or just return?
Return.
Correct.
Return.
Then there's a possibility of another.
So, and like I said, Matthew and I had talked about that on a concern being expressed to me, of which we tracked it back to SHAC, which should have been a document that came to you all for approval. So we need to go back and have that. I think folks are open to that conversation, but that would run back through our SHAC committee.
Can we have that conversation to make sure that our kids?
Did I state all that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We have Yeah.
It makes my head itch.
Well, it's just the fact that, I understand what some of the CDC and them saying that they don't want the kids to miss school, but the problem I have is if you have one child that has lice, and then he comes to school, and then he infects like 4 or 5 other kids, then you have all the kids, and you have like 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 kids all missing school because he got lice and then he gets out in the community. So I just.
My question for I guess to add the policy is how many excused absences do we give to students who go in? So I know it says something, but I believe it's only for elementary. So I guess
Yeah,
what policy.
we actually have a SHAC meeting this week on Wednesday, and so that we'll revisit and discuss that and I'll provide Dr. Strike with some information to send to y'all.
SHAC committees are not, they don't set policy, they recommend policy. They're a recommending body to the board.
I mean, it would be probably beneficial if the kids stay home until they're clear and then bring them back. So, some kids.
And what I'll provide is exactly what procedures we follow as a district. And I mean, we have them out there, we have them ready, but we'll discuss them on Wednesday, and then I'll share those with Dr. Strike to place in your Friday update. So you'll have an idea of what we do, and also have the CDC recommendations as well to refer to.
No, we can't. No, we're not medical providers.
Yeah, nurses.
Yeah, but you can't treat
I feel bad for bringing this up because we just finished talking about a lot of budget items. This is going to seem inconsequential, I guess, to some. But I've been observing the whole meeting. It's 1 hour long meeting, and I'm looking at the chairs that our team is sitting in and the chairs that our attendees are sitting in. Those are uncomfortable. It's already been sitting. I'm like, because I couldn't sit in those chairs for 30 minutes.
Already being addressed.
Look at these two.
Yeah,
I think Rod's taking care of it, right, Rod?
He's getting a lot of
That's the last I heard. Rod said, "Don't worry about it. I got it."
I think. It seemed like you guys prepared extremely well for what you were delivering today. Some very eye-opening information related to insurance and what our teachers pay for medical insurance. It's just eye-opening. So Mr. English and I were just talking about some things that we can do in Austin, and I can assure you that's probably one of the things that I'm going to jump on pretty quickly and write a letter. Like, that's unbelievable. But in any event, great job today, everybody. So, thank you. All right.
Just want to welcome Jason. See you here next week on one of the comfy chairs.
That's the
comfy chair, the hot chair.
Yeah, hot seat over there.
Hot seat.
All right. Sounds good. Other than that,
just a couple quick things. One is kind of in that same theme we've talked about. As you've heard these different folks get up and talk tonight on a variety of subjects, please make sure that if there's any information that you need, whether it's for you personally or for you in the public eye where somebody might have a question, is make sure that you get a hold of the appropriate party to get that information. We want to make sure that you have everything you need, not only to make decisions, but just being out in the community. As we know, you get asked about this and that, and there isn't a person here on this team that's not here to serve. So make sure you ask what you need, and you will get a upfront answer. And if we don't have it, just give us some time and we'll get what you need so that you can serve the kids. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. The second is the reception for our retirees is this Friday. I'll be right here in this room in these uncomfortable chairs. And it's 4:30 to 6 o'clock. The theme is the Giving Tree, and great opportunity to thank those folks for, there'll be just a few opening comments and some closing comments and recognition that's run through our Human Resource Services Department, and a chance to thank people, acknowledge people that have made tremendous impacts in untold number of lives. So that's this Friday at 4:30, right here in this room. Other than that, I have nothing else.
There's nothing else? I'd like to say thank everyone this evening for sticking with us. We got a long one this evening. I think this is the longest we've had in a few months now.
Busy time of year.
Busy time of year. All right. Just a reminder, board, there are several trainings that are coming up. Please put the training on your calendars. Come up. We're going to be having our team-based training coming up. We're going to have our retreat, which is coming in August.
That's summer acceptance. The one, and then you also had at your tables the fall.
The fall.
Yeah.
And CRSS is coming up. Is that this year, or is that, you know, CRSS is this year?
On the email that I sent you?
Yeah.
I'll
Okay, all right. And, probably, is that what, the CRSS? Okay. Okay. Is that going to, is that usually in Chicago, or is that usually here? They have it in different places. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Other than that, great job, Stephen. Thank you very much. I know you guys have done a lot of great and hard work with the strategic plan, and that is leading us into our future. So we look really forward to a great job there. Other than that, we'll take a motion for adjournment. So moved. Second? Second. All those in favor of adjournment? We're adjourned at 10:30.